everybody, Craig Warrack here with the final episode of my Secret Santa custom project for 2016, in which I'm making Pennywise the Clown, here he is here, from Stephen King's It. In the previous episodes I researched, designed, sculpted the figure, and now I'm going to paint it. So I've got my Games Workshop Citadel paints and my Vallejo Model Air paints, my paintbrushes, my airbrush, and I'm going to get started on this, hopefully bringing it all to a close with some final little extras to show you. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So the first thing I did was to start painting the suit, the fabric. Here I'm mixing the red and yellow to make orange. I'm a genius, me. Right there in the cup of the airbrush. People who know airbrushes may be like, oh, that's disgusting. Doesn't he know that's bad for the airbrush? But partly because I like to fly free and easy, and partly because I don't know what I'm doing in the slightest, I just mixed the paint right in there. And yeah, then started layering it on. I wanted to start off getting really into the creases of the suits with dark, more reddish oranges. You'll see me going along the seams, just putting that colour in, and yeah, lightening it and darkening it as needed. So I'll be adding more red in when needed, more yellow in when needed, just to get it start to look a bit more realistic, not just that one flat satin colour that I started with. And with that done, I moved on to painting the body. Started off with just a primer of white and then a primer of black on top of that. Not quite sure why I did that. Free and easy, don't quite know what I'm doing. That's fine. And here, as an example here, I've got what I'm aiming for. I painted this previously with the purple and green with the highlights. And I'm using a brush here because I just don't have the control of the airbrush that I would like to have. I'd love to be able to airbrush really well, but I can't. So I'm starting off making it all purple, and then I'm going to paint the green stripes on top of that. I use a lot of different shades of purple here. You see me mixing them on the left on that paper towel. Just getting dark purples, light purples, trying to bring out the depth in the folds of that cloth that really sell it as a baggy material. And there I am doing dark green stripes, big blocks of colour. And the reason I start off with the dark green is then I paint a thinner block of, thinner in width block of light green on top, and it makes it look like, as long as I don't go right to the edge, as if it has a dark green outline. Very difficult to outline in paint. You get a wobbly hand, especially my wobbly hands. But if you paint a large block and a slightly smaller block on top of it, it appears that you have a dark outline. Top tip there. And here's me going over with light green, very light green, picking out the highlights of the cloth to match the highlights of the purple I did. And just doing that all round the arms there. Again, going back in just to match the lightness of the green onto the purple, picking out the highlights again. And then moving on to the waistcoat, that is all a dark green. It's very difficult to actually find reference of what this waistcoat looks like. It actually has a speckled gold sort of pattern on it. So I'm painting it all green, and then I get gold paint on an old toothbrush and just spring the bristles back and forward with my finger and get a nice speckled gold effect, and then do the red trim, again using a few shades of red just to pick out the detail. Then I'm getting them all suited up. Using super glue as I'm going along, and a bit of a metal tool there because your fingers stick to the super glue, and just getting it super glued in the right places, trimming it a bit, pressing it down, making sure the folds fall in the right places. and then I'm just gluing and fixing the sculpted parts on top of the cloth until he's in an almost finished state. So apart from the head, Pennywise is pretty much all painted up, but I don't know. The ruff around his neck, I'm not feeling it, so at this point, you can see I've already reworked that from the time lapse of when I was painting it. I'm going to, I think, totally redo the ruff. It sits a bit too high on him. Does it? Oh, it's difficult, isn't it? I don't know. It just doesn't... Well, maybe it's okay. I don't know if I'm being too nitpicky or what, but I think I'll try and take that off. It's kind of sculpted in there now. But I'll try and take that off and resculpt it, see if I can get a better feel. But yes, anyway, as far as the paintwork and the rest of it is going, I'm very happy with it. I'm excited to get down to painting the head. That's when it'll start to really come together as Pennywise. So yeah, I'm going to go to work now though. Ugh. And sometimes when you take a step back and then come and look at something again later, it's not as bad as you think it is. So yeah, but I do think I'm going to resculpt it. I don't know, I just think it should probably hang more around his shoulders rather than, you know, it's sort of jutting out at the moment. It seems quite rigid. Really not sure. Really not sure. Oh yeah, that looks much better to me. Yeah, it also gives him much more freedom of articulation in his neck, so yeah. I think that was a good call. Still to paint it, obviously. But yeah, compared to this, it's just more subtle. Yeah. So I'm quite happy with that now. Now I've got to try and remove it. Right, shouldn't be too hard though, and then I guess we'll paint it up and put it back on. Oh, just when you thought you were finished. Oh yeah, that's much better, right? So I've started painting the face as well here. Hello. I've just done some very, very dark red, almost black, lining there on the eyes, nose, lips, and the hair. I've done a bit of a very light wash with dark red on the teeth, and then painted over the top the individual little toothy pegs, and got some schmutz on his lip, which I'll tidy up. But yeah, I'm going to work on painting up the head now, still to get the eyebrows in. Doesn't he look particularly evil? Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Need to tidy it up a little bit, but yeah, it's coming along really well. Very, very happy. So I'm going to paint up the head, brighten it up, create that real sort of juxtaposition against this really creepy thing with very bright colours, and I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see that. It's very fine detail I'm going to be doing, but I'll film it anyway. Hopefully you can get something out of it. Let's get cracking. Oh yeah, and just because I'm very conscious of handling this when I've got sort of dirty hands, I'll be putting his head on this guy. There we go. Looking good, Cap. And yes, this was very challenging to film, just because I have to keep this so close to me so I can see that really small detail with a very fine brush and the very small pinpoints of colour I'm using. I just can't let the camera get in the way. I probably could have found a better camera angles, but this is the best we've got. Sorry, this is what happened. Anyway, yes, I am doing very fine work on the face and the eyebrows, doing his irises and his pupils, doing his lips again, like I did with the stripes on his arms, painting a large block of dark red and then the lighter red slightly smaller on top of that, creates the impression that there's a lip liner going on there. Also doing a very, very light yellow wash on the eyes, just to make them different from the very pancake white clown makeup. Give them that slightly more natural, slightly sickly look. And then again, a very, very tiny light red wash in the corner of his eyes, just to give them that slightly bloodshot effect at the side, which Pennywise's eyes do have in the photos. And then a dry brush of orange and red mixed together just to bring out that bright colour of his hair, and finishing it all off with sealers of Vallejo Modeler matte varnish or Games Workshop Art Coat for the glossy parts. And that's that all finished up. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, it looks quite good. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, good enough for me anyway. Now let's just pop it on and break the whole thing at the very last moment. There we go. Isn't he lovely? When you get the camera angle right. That's some scary clown action, isn't it? Oh, I'm quite happy with that. Quite happy. Okay, so almost finished up. Really the final stretch. What have I got to do? I've got to do the balloons. Really don't know how I'm going to do them, how I'm going to suspend them from his hand, but I'll have a think, play about, see what I can come up with. And then what else? Oh yes, there's some final little extras. You may have seen glimpses of them, hints of them throughout the video. But yeah, something to do with his back here that pops off. And then there's some, what's going on in there? Well, let's see if I can get it to work and I'll show you. But sorry, I'm just playing around with my own toy here. And the articulation's good. It all still articulates under there. The waist, the knees, the ankles. Oh, that's a weird light. It's got daylight here. It's unusual. Scotland. Anyway. Yeah. What can I say? Nailed it. Right, let's keep going. Okay, so sorry I didn't get any footage of making the little extra things, but they're very delicate and it's hard to sort of talk through it when I don't really know what I'm doing or how it's going to turn out. And I'll just show you all the extra parts I've got for him. The simplest one to start with is the alternate hands. There we go. So I've got his come here hand. This kind of waving, gesturing hand there. Along with that more open hand. I also have the balloons. Remember I made a fist? Well, here I've got the balloons. As you know, I cast these from clear resin and then I've sort of glued them. Well, I used an epoxy resin to glue them together after I painted them with Tamiya clear. I actually used my airbrush for these. I did try and just paint them with a brush, but it came out really gloopy and thick. So I just used the airbrush and thinned that Tamiya clear down quite a bit. And here on this one, I've painted a heart derry, essentially, with a bloody hand. And if you remember, if you were tuned in at that point in the book, where is it? There is a point Here we go. Balloons floated against the underside of the bridge, not a dozen or a dozen dozens, but thousands, red, blue and green and yellow, and printed on the side of each was I Heart Derry. So, I wanted to just bring that into that. I mean, it's not printed on the side of each, it's just on this one. And actually, this one isn't painted clear white, because I don't have clear white paint. Just the back of it is very lightly sprayed with white, and then from the front that looks like a sort of clear white. And that's just some red paint I've painted that on with. So yeah, I think they came out quite well. This is wire, quite a sturdy wire, holding it up. And then the wire's just drilled, well, there's a hole drilled in the hand, and the wire bound and put in there, glued in there, sculpted back over. And then at the bottom there's some more flexible and thinner bits of wire, just to give it the impression that he's holding them. So yeah, that's it. And the strings are silver, like in the book they're supposed to be like spider webs. Didn't quite capture that, but they are silver. Yep. So that is an interchangeable hand. You see it's all part of the hand, it doesn't remove from the hand. And that goes in here. Now, they are actually, see that, they're quite heavy, so they do actually twist. So you have to keep it quite close to his chest, essentially. Takes a bit of finagling to do. So it's one of those things with customizing, is that you use like epoxy resins and clays. These kind of materials are quite heavy, so it can be difficult at times to get things to be as light as you need them to be. But with a bit of work, they can be angled up like that. Or actually you can rest them against his hair as well. They're not resting against his hair here, but you can do that. Well, whoever's going to receive them can do that. So yeah, they look cool, I think. I'm happy with how they came out. And now, let me just remove that and put this wavy hand back in. So, just before this section, I showed you this bit in the back. Now, this was something I worked on right from the start of the figure. I've just been kind of trying to not feature it, just because I like to have a little bit of something to stay tuned for at the end. So, this pulls off. This is just epoxy putty, this part. Much the same way I sculpted the collar with the, what do you call it? Plastic wrap. I did the same with his back. But before I did that, I put these holes into his back. This centre one is actually the peg hole that's on the Grim Reaper figure anyway for his cape, and that is the peg there in the centre. So that just fits on there. That was difficult to get that to fit cleanly on and off with the ruffle around his head, but with a lot of back and forward I was able to get that. Now these square holes that surround it and are sculpted over with a sort of pitted texture, these are from, you remember the Superior Spider-Man? Hold on. So there is an enhancement kit, or whatever you want to say, to the Superior Spider-Man figure. This is a bit of a modded one I've done here, but you buy these via shapeways.com. I think you look for Sup Spider legs or something, and they're admittedly quite expensive for a set of 4 like these, but they're really good, and since I took a first look at them in one of my vlogs, they've actually improved them a lot, so the legs are much tighter now. They used to be quite floppy in the previous release of them, but they're great now. If you don't have them, I really recommend you get them. So I got a couple of sets of those for Pennywise, and I took the holes that are in the backpack and I cut them out carefully and embedded them in here because I've got spider legs to go in his back, and I've got 8 of them. So these come in various colours, but unfortunately none of those colours they come in were useful. So I got the plain white and I tried to dye it black. However, I'm terrible at dyeing plastics and it didn't really work, and it came out a sort of a dark blue. But that's okay for me, that is good enough. So yeah, I got the 2 sets of these and put the sockets into his back, sculpted over them. And then for the legs themselves, I just added some texture with epoxy putty and some texture paint that you get from Tamiya. For this one, I used some snow effect. There's various other ones, gravel in that, but that's just the one I had, so I used that. And yeah, I just layered it on just to give it, you know, so it's not as smooth and nice, it's kind of a gross monster leg. And then I took the bristles from a toothbrush and super glued them on and painted it all black, as the spider in the book is said to be black and hairy. And then when it was all black, you can't really pick out the details, so then I just dry brushed here and there with a bit of a light grey brown. Anyway, these things plug into the holes here. That gives the idea that there's the spider behind the clown, or the clown is just the mask for the spider. So I'll get these all set up. So yeah, there he is with all his spider legs on. I'm sorry if there's actually some arsehole cutting down trees outside my house, so if there's a chainsaw noise in the background, you know what that is. It's not my side business of disposing bodies. Right, so yeah, here he is with his spider legs on. You see how they all attach around the back, and they all articulate. And just to really, you know, bring that spider effect into the main figure itself, I've also given him another alternate hand. I've given him this monster hand, which, you know, it's more from the video cover than anything else. Is the, you know, on the, where is it? See in the background there, just next to my black spoon. You see he's got those 3-fingered hands. He does have them in the movie when they pull his glove off when he's trying to escape down a drain. So I gave him that. So it's not green like in the cover art. I made it black to match the spider and the sort of idea behind the monster under the clown mask. And then also, remember I cast another head for Pennywise? I've warped that into this horror you see here. This all comes from sketches that I did very early on. So if you were tuned in right at the start, you'll remember I did my sketches of Pennywise, and also some ideas I had here. Him with all his spider legs coming out, and the sort of spidery face with the mouth having legs and stuff coming out it, and all the eyes on the head. And the 3-fingered hand. 3-fingered monster hand. Yep. And yeah, just that and that, which is essentially what I did. I tend to work on, you know, here I had a kind of a predator idea of it, but here I've kind of more gone that the spider's actually, you know, coming out of the mouth. It's stretching his lips around its sort of legs or mandibles, whatever you want to call those. Yeah. That's that, and there's I Heart Dairy. So yeah, I think I've got everything that I pretty much, I didn't fit in the deadlights anywhere, but everything that I sketched I basically managed to realise. So let's get him set up in full monster mode. There we go. him suspended. Could suspend him higher a bit. But yep, there we go. So that is my Pennywise. And he'll be winging his way to whoever, I'm not sure, in time for Christmas. It's now the very start of October actually. Still very early for Christmas for me to feel Christmassy. But that's him. So that's me all finished. That's Pennywise done. I'm very proud of him actually. So I don't know when this is going to go live. I've uploaded it now in October. But when you'll be watching it, maybe it'll be around Christmas. If so, I hope you're having a lovely Christmas holiday season. And I hope to see you in the new year, for hopefully a better year than this one has been for me. The next thing I will be uploading is a showcase of this guy so that I can show him to the general YouTube public without them having to wade through these video diaries. And then after that I'll be showing the Secret Santa present that I receive, hopefully at some point near Christmas or in the new year. It tends to be given the shipping times. Anyway, I hope to see you then. I hope you've enjoyed this video diary series. I certainly enjoyed making him. Hope you're having a good time. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that jazz, and I'll see you soon. Bye.